Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Invisible Head Investing. I'm the Invisible Head Investor, and today we're going to talk about Adam Aron, the ape father, the silverback. Okay, we're going to get into his educational background a little bit, his professional background, and then we're going to talk about what I think could potentially be his master plan. So let's get started. Let's talk about his educational background. He graduated cum laude from Harvard University with a bachelor's degree in government and an MBA with distinction in business. He's an award-winning expert in loyalty marketing. He was the chief marketing officer at United Airlines. In 1982, he helped invent airline frequent flyer programs at the age of 28. I mean, I had no idea this guy invented that. I mean, we still use this today. It's crazy. From 1987 to 1990, he was the chief marketing officer for Hyatt Hotels and Resorts. He created the first loyalty program for Hyatt and helped compete with Marriott to help turn the hotel chain around. From 1993 to 1996, at the age of 38, he became the CEO of Norwegian Cruise Lines. Now, Norwegian had low cash flow, high debt, and a bad product and was in danger of bankruptcy. He turned that company around, and today it's the third largest cruise line in the world with a market cap of over $12 billion. He's still on the board of directors today. From 1996 to 2006, he became the CEO of Vail Resorts. Now, Vail Resorts is the second largest ski resort in the world. It operates 37 resorts in 3 countries, owns or manages hotels, lodging, condos, and golf courses, and oversees property development and real estate holdings. In 2006, he formed a personal consultancy company called World Leisure Partners. In 2011 through 2013, he became the CEO of the Philadelphia 76ers and later became the co-owner of the team. He used his marketing skills to engineer the largest attendance increase in the NBA. That team went from selling 10,000 tickets a game at the beginning of 2011 to selling out games within just 15 days. I mean, this guy is a marketing genius. He knows how to turn companies around very quickly. And as you guys can see, these are all different types of companies, okay? In 2015 and presently, he's the CEO of AMC. We all know that AMC is the largest movie company in the world. And according to Aron, before the shutdown in April 2020, AMC was grossing $480 million a month in monthly revenues, which is a total of $5.76 billion annually at its peak. So this company was making a lot of money. We know they have a lot of overhead because this is a brick and mortar type business. They have physical locations. They have a lot of employees. They have leases that they pay. There's a lot of overhead that this company has. So like I said, Adam has a track record of successfully turning companies around and making them better than when he left them. Okay, that's his track record. If this guy doesn't instill confidence in you guys, well, he should, because he's proven time and time again that he's successfully turned companies around into successes. Okay, so after the shutdown, Aron was able to keep AMC afloat by restructuring and reducing debt. They raised $506 million in equity from $164.7 million share dilution. Now, at that time, due to heavy short selling, the average price per share was only $3.07 on average. Again, they did the dilution over time, but on average, that's what they got per share. At the lowest point, shares were pushed down to $1.91 per share by these short sellers. These guys were really, really trying to force AMC to go out of business. According to Aron, AMC managed to raise a total of $1.822 billion between December 14th, 2020 through January 29th, 2021, when many thought that the company would go out of business. There's even an analyst out there who put a price target of 1 penny on this company, which is insane. I think this guy's being paid by the hedges, but that's just my opinion. In May 2021, AMC raised an additional $428 million with an additional 43 million share dilution at an average sale price of $9.95. Okay, that should have been the nail in the coffin right there for these hedge funds. And maybe they should have, realized that, hey, we should probably be getting out of our short positions because this company's not going out of business anytime soon. They have a lot of cash on their books, which will allow them to stay in business for at least the next 12 months or longer, maybe 12 to 24 months. And with things turning around and everything, the economy opening up, and a large majority of the U.S. population already vaccinated, things are only going to get better for the company. They're not going to get worse. So what's the plan? And this is what I'm thinking. These are my opinions. Guys, leave comments down below. Let me know your thoughts and what you guys think. Again, this is all just theory, but let's take a look, and you guys judge for yourself. Okay, so in late March, AMC announces it is asking AMC shareholders to approve the creation of an additional 500 million shares for possible dilution if they should need it. Okay, now this isn't to just keep the company solvent. It's to allow for raising capital if they wanted to acquire other movie theaters or movie companies that potentially went out of business during the pandemic. Okay, so it could open up a good opportunity for them, as well as give them insurance if they needed it. Aron has said in the past that they're not just going to frivolously, they're not just going to dump all these shares onto the market. They're just there as an insurance policy to provide additional liquidity if needed, if they needed to sell, or to allow for raising capital for future acquisitions. Okay, at least that's what AMC was telling everybody and telling the public. And this makes sense. But was that the real reason that they announced this 500 million share dilution? I don't know. This announcement scared a lot of investors hoping for a short squeeze, and the share price dropped and helped create FUD. Rightfully so. I mean, think about it. You as a retail investor, where we got this movement going, we're hoping to create the mother of all squeezes, and the threat of a 500 million share dilution, even though the CEO is telling us that it's only there for emergency situations or if they want to acquire other companies or whatever, it still created a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. People didn't know what was going to happen. People thought that, this was a possibility of killing the short squeeze. Now, after announcing the 500 million share dilution, did this announcement cause short sellers to increase their short positions with naked shorting? Again, this is something that I'm thinking. Maybe a lot of you guys are thinking it as well. But it's something that made me go, did short sellers think that if more shares were created, they could cover their short positions more easily and prevent the mother of all squeezes? Did Aron want short sellers to think this? Again, is this the plan? On April 14th, 2021, Adam Aron did a live interview with Trace Trades. This interview reinforced confidence to retail investors. He's on the side of the retail investor, and he has a large stake in saving the company, since he owns over 3 million shares himself. He also gifted 250,000 shares to each of his 2 children. So this guy has personal investment in this company, not just for himself, but for his kids. I mean, most parents out there want the best for their kids, and they want to put their kids in the best possible situation. And if this share price balloons and explodes, and his kids have 250,000 shares each, I mean, think about it. His kids, grandkids, great-grandkids, I mean, his family is set for decades if this thing squeezes. So he has a personal stake in this, and he is really interested in helping the retail investor with this movement to make this short squeeze happen. On April 27, 2021, 2 weeks after the Trace Trades interview, AMC announces it is withdrawing the 500 million share proposal, and shortly after, news comes out that AMC diluted 43 million shares, further building the massive amount of cash reserves on their books. After this 43 million share dilution, I think a lot of AMC retailers breathed a sigh of relief, and we saw that when the price of AMC increased right after that dilution. So a lot of the FUD is being taken away. First of all, they eliminate the 500 million share dilution proposal. That gives retail investors peace of mind. Retail investors knew that there were still tens of millions of shares available from a previous approval of 500 million shares back in, I believe, 2012. And a lot of the dilution that took place in 2020 came from those shares to help keep AMC afloat to where it is today. So I'm thinking Adam probably engineered all this. The initial plan was to dilute the 43 million shares all along, but the proposal was there just to give the hedgies false confidence and to force them to double down or incentivize them to double down on their plan to push the stock price down. So when that proposal was taken away and they only diluted 43 million shares and the retail investors or whoever ate those shares up quickly, I think it caused short sellers to probably choke on their morning coffee and their sphincters clenched at the thought of the buffet that they were facing when the short squeeze happens. On May 13th through May 15th, AMC's largest shareholder, Wanda, sold 30 million shares. leaving them with only 10,000 shares remaining. Wanda makes a very nice profit from its initial investment in AMC in 2012. So Wanda had actually sold over 50 million shares dating back to last December. But selling this additional 30 million shares, I think there's a reason for this. Okay, and I'll get into that in a second. But by them selling all these shares, you would think that, hey, maybe the retail investor is like, what the hell? Why is Wanda selling? They're the company's largest shareholder, and they're selling. What's going on? I think it had the reverse effect. I think it gave the retail investor peace of mind, because now the threat of Wanda selling during the squeeze is gone, right? The possibility of the squeeze taking place and then 30 million shares or 50 million shares flooding the market, because that's how many shares Wanda had, goes away. But Wanda still held on to 10,000 shares. Why would they hold on to 10,000 shares? Why not just liquidate their entire position? Because I think Wanda knows that even with just 10,000 shares, they could make a nice profit. Now, there's a lot of talk that Wanda really sold out because a lot of Wanda is a Chinese company, and there's pressure from the Chinese government for Chinese companies to invest locally within their own economies. So yeah, that could be another factor here. But I think there's an additional factor at play here, and I'll talk about that in a sec. Okay, so after the sell-off, the stock price dips just over $2 per share that week, and then rebounds nicely and eventually explodes to over $36 per share, which was last Friday, and then it pulled back down to around $25, $26, whatever it is right now. Now, why did Wanda hold on to these 10,000 shares? Like I said, did they want to keep skin in the game for the squeeze? The AMC share count is taking place on June 2nd. Is the plan to do this short? Now, this was pushed back, I believe. Initially, it was supposed to happen in May, if I'm not mistaken. And then it was pushed back to June. If I'm wrong, please leave a comment down below and put down the correct information. But I'm thinking, is this share count really meant to help expose an idea of how many synthetic shares are in the market? Now, the count doesn't cover shares outside of the U.S. and Canada. Okay, there's a lot of other countries out there with shareholders, and those shares are not going to count. But it's going to give us an idea, the tip of the iceberg, as to how many synthetic shares possibly exist. Okay? And if they have an idea as to how many shares are out there in other countries as well, I mean, they can estimate, but this is really going to create some aha moments, all right? It's really going to expose how bad the problem is. Again, it's hard to prove naked shorting, but the evidence is there. Okay, there's too much evidence to suggest that there is no naked shorting. There are no synthetic shares out there. Okay, so this will expose, or at least give us an idea as to just how bad the problem is. Are all of these recent events connected in an effort to expose the alleged fraud being committed by hedgies allegedly naked shorting the company? Good question, right? Did Wanda sell at recent market highs to establish a ceiling as to what the most they were able to sell the stock for was, so that after the short squeeze, AMC and Wanda could go to the SEC and present a case that the damages suffered from short seller fraud was X dollars? Okay, meaning once the short squeeze happened, whatever the high of that short squeeze is, minus the price that Wanda sold their shares, that's the difference that's left is the damages that the company suffered due to the fraud. They're going to state that the stock price was so suppressed from all the naked short selling, pushed down so dramatically that they suffered huge financial losses because of this. So will this share count help expose how severe the fraud being committed is? So what's the end game? Well, there's good, but there's a lot of bad that comes with this end game. Okay, a lot of retail investors are definitely going to make a lot of money if the squeeze happens. That's a given, and that's part of the plan, but it's not the ultimate goal. Okay, the ultimate goal is to create a movement to expose the fraud that these hedge funds have been implementing onto retail investors for decades. It's a crime, and it needs to be exposed, and change needs to happen. And sometimes when you're trying to make change happen, there's a lot of negative effects that happen in the short term in order for you to have a better future in the long run. Okay, so yeah, retail investors will make a lot of money. Corrupt hedges lose billions and possibly go bankrupt. Okay, which a lot of us think, hey, that's great, they deserve it. But think about it. Think about all the people whose money they're managing. Yes, they're managing the money of a lot of rich, selfish, greedy people, but they also manage funds with a lot of hardworking people's money in these funds. So a lot of those people could suffer losses as well, and that's not a good thing. The national economy could suffer in the short term, but could be much better off in the long term if it is proven that fraud took place. The general public is outraged and forces their local political representatives to implement radical changes to the U.S. financial system by closing loopholes that hedgies abuse. Again, short term, and when I say short term, I don't mean 3 months, 6 months. I mean, this could be a few years. Okay? If this squeeze happens, guaranteed other squeezes are going to happen. GameStop squeeze is going to happen. Other heavily shorted companies are going to squeeze because margin calls are going to be called in. Companies are going to be forced to liquidate. They're going to have to buy back a lot of these synthetic shares from all these other companies that they're playing this game with. And it could really crush our economy for a long time. Okay? What happened in 2008 with a housing crisis will probably pale in comparison to what comes from this. It could potentially be worse, okay, than the housing crisis. And we know how bad that was. And that's a very bad thing. But again, if reform and change, good change, gets implemented, then in the long run, we're all better off for it. So continuing on the end game, what happens if all this stuff happens? Hopefully, the SEC implements new rules, increases monetary fines dramatically. And I'm not talking about, slaps on the wrist. I'm talking about, hey, we're going to investigate the extent of this fraud, okay? And you guys are going to pay hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars. Maybe you'll be forced to liquidate your entire account. Maybe you'll be forced to go out of business if you're a repeat offender. That's what some of the fines should be. And hopefully the SEC reports these repeat offenders to the Department of Justice for legal investigation and possible jail time. Again, I've said it over and over again. Things will not change unless the financial ramifications are high enough and there's a threat for jail time. Okay, these guys are getting away with slaps on the wrist. But if you present them with possible jail time, I think a lot of them will change their tune and things will happen. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Guys, again, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you think this is plausible, if you think I'm full of crap. Is it another conspiracy theory? Who knows? It's just something that's crossed my mind, and I'm wondering. It's something that makes me go, Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.